Bellator 277, McKee versus a Pitbull 2. We got AJ McKee Jr., Patricio Pitbull in the rematch for the featherweight belt. The undefeated young champion, AJ McKee Jr., taking on the greatest Bellator MMA fighter of all time in Patricio Pitbull. We got Vadim Nemkov, who can possibly be a UFC champion, fighting Corey Anderson right there. We got Aaron Pico and Adil Edwards, Linton, Vassell, Tim Johnson, Gaston, Bolanos, and Daniel Carey, Tyrell Fortune, Rakim Cleveland, Dovletdzhan, Yagshimuradov, and Rafael Carvalho, Michael Lombardo, Kyle Crutchmer, Bobby Seronio III, and Calob Ramirez, Rhalan Gracie, and Tyson Miller, Edwin de los Santos, Alberto Mendez, Rogelio Luna, and Socrates Hernandez, JT Donaldson, and then Laird Anderson, and Alon Benson, and Theo Haig. I hope I got those names correct, because I spent a little bit of time trying to get those names correct. A few canceled fights, we are going to look through those ones really quick, because we definitely have to look at that. There's a few fights on here, actually a lot of fights on here, that it just kept on getting switched around over and over again. The first one is going to be Timothy Johnson versus Tyrell Fortune. That was the original fight. Now it's Tyrell Fortune versus Rakim Cleveland, and it's Tim Johnson versus Linton Vassell. Shane Key versus Tyson Miller. That fight did get canceled. Now Tyson Miller is taking on Rhalan and Gracie. Gaston Bolanos had a few fights canceled. The first one being against Cass Bell, the second one being against Batin Gonzalez, and the third one being against Ali Jaffrey. Now he's getting another opponent. I mean, how many opponents is this man gonna get? Now he's gonna get a rematch with Daniel Carey. We have Aaron Pico, originally supposed to fight Jeremy Kennedy. Now he is gonna be fighting Adil Edwards on short notice. We have Patrick Downey and Daniel Compton. That fight's just off the card. Dovletdzhan, Yagshimuradov, Tony Johnson is now Dovletdzhan, Yagshimuradov, and Rafael Carvalho. Honestly, a harder fight for Dovletdzhan and Yagshimuradov. So those are all the cancellations. I mean, there's a lot of them. I'm going to be honest with you. It makes it so much harder to predict because so many fights are on short notice, but that's what we're going to have to deal with for Bellator 277. Let's get into the first one. These prelims, we're going to go by pretty quickly. These first 6 right here. After that one, we'll go a little bit more in-depth on my prediction. But for these first 5, there's not really too much to go off of. So we'll go on to the Bellator light heavyweight division. Theo Haig and Alan Benson in the light heavyweight division. It's a weird fight. I mean, Alan Benson 1-2 as an MMA fighter, losing a decision, beating Fabian Gutierrez by split decision, then getting knocked out by Justin Berry, getting knocked out before that, and getting knocked out before that on the amateur scene. He's fighting Theo Haig, who is a pretty solid prospect. He fought 2 years ago. I mean, Bellator, what are you doing, man? I mean, I come out here looking for tape on these fighters, and the last fight was 2 years ago, man. I had to literally go towards an Instagram post to see what type of fighter Theo Haig is, but from what I've seen of Alan Benson, he's pretty garbage wherever the fight goes. I mean, he's one of those guys where his striking's pretty average, his grappling's pretty average, his wrestling's pretty average. He's a jack of all trades, but he's not even really that because he's not that good at any of the trades, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. Theo Haig at least has some pretty solid striking, and if the fight does hit the ground, he could get a rear naked, a guillotine, something like that. So it's a weird fight. I'm not going to be like, yeah, for sure Theo Haig's going to win because the man has not fought in 2 years. I'm not going to be confident whatsoever, but I'm going to go Theo Haig getting a finish. I don't know if it's going to be a submission or if it's going to be a knockout. The man has not fought in 2 years. I have no idea what he's going to go out there looking for, what finish he's going to be doing, but from what I know about him, I think he's going to keep the fight on the feet, land a good shot, and either TKO him or knock him down and finish him on the ground with a submission. Theo Haig by finish. Laird Anderson and JT Donaldson in the featherweight division, and Bellator does it yet again. What is Bellator with these undefeated prospects that have fought 3 years ago and 4 years ago, fighting like losing record guys? And we already have one with Theo Haig and Alan Benson, and we have another one with Rogelio Luna, Socrates Hernandez. I mean, we have Tyson Miller, Rhalan Gracie, and then we almost have one with Calob Ramirez and Bobby Seronio III. But Bellator really loves to do this, given some undefeated guy that has not fought in 3 years. A guy that is 4-5, got knocked out, got submitted, got an accidental eye poke right there. I mean, what in the world, Bellator? I mean, what is up with you guys? It is absolutely insane, but he's younger. I've seen some boxing from Laird, and he's a very solid striker. 3 years is a long time to stay off of MMA, but that is 3 years of improvement for a young gun like Laird Anderson. I think he's going to beat JT Donaldson wherever the fight goes. Striking, grappling, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, wherever the fight goes. Laird Anderson by finish in the first or second rounds. Socrates, Hernandez, and Rogelio Luna in the featherweight division. It's a weird fight again. Another losing record fighter fighting a debutante in Bellator on the prelims. Socrates Hernandez, I mean, he beat Benjamin Campos by knockout, got a decision win, and then he lost 2 fights by decision. Rogelio Luna, another fight that's another guy that's only really fought on the amateur scene. A lot of decisions and then won a knockout win right there. But he is going to be the better striker in my opinion. Yes, Socrates Hernandez is probably going to be like the taller, lengthier guy here than Rogelio Luna, but he kind of is in all of his fights. And Rogelio is a much better boxer. He's got a little bit more power. He's going to put the pressure on Socrates, maybe mix in a takedown or two as well. And I think he should win the fight by a decision. If Bobby Seronio III couldn't finish him, I don't think Rogelio de Lima, Rogelio Luna is going to get the TKO or submission. So Rogelio Luna by a decision. Edwin de los Santos versus Alberto Mendez in the flyweight division. 2 undefeated guys, whether they're looking at the amateur or the professional MMA careers. Alberto Mendez fought 5 years ago, got a knockout win, another knockout win, and another knockout win. Then he got a submission win there against Bayanduran Gantumur a long time ago. That was about 7 months ago. Before that, he was on a humongous layoff, but it's going to be a domination. I know what Bellator is trying to do. Give him a 0-0 guy. Not really trying to look like he's a bad fighter or anything like that. Just, he's got a pretty decent amateur record, but they're setting him up for Edwin de los Santos. Edwin de los Santos going out there, knocking out John Adams with a liver kick, and then showing amazing boxing. I mean, he's had boxing fights before. He showed very legit striking in his last fight with John Adams. I think he's going to go out there, kick with Alberto Melendez for a little bit, and as Alberto is coming in to land a combination of his own, I see a counter punch, left hook or right overhand on Alberto Mendez right here. Edwin de los Santos by knockout in the first or second rounds. Tyson Miller and Rhalan Gracie at welterweight. Rhalan Gracie, not looking too good. Now, 2 of them were a long time ago, 14 and a half years ago and 16 years ago, a decision and a knockout loss. The last one was against Shane Keefe right there. He's 34 years old. He is taller. He is lengthier. But he did lose to Shane Keefe in the last fight. All Shane Keefe really did out there was kind of outstrike him a little bit and then just defend the submission. That's all you really have to do. Fighting a guy with as bad of striking as Rhalan Gracie, and he's only really got the grappling to fall back on. Tyson Miller is a very solid wrestler. And he's a way better striker as well. I think he can go out there, just defend the takedowns on Rhalan Gracie, and he's going to knock him out on the feet. With the guy like him that's a much better wrestler, he's not going to have the jiu-jitsu advantage, of course, fighting Gracie. But if you have the wrestling, just don't get taken down by a jiu-jitsu guy. You win the fight. You just outstrike him for 3 rounds and maybe even get the knockout. But I'm going to go decision for Tyson Miller there in the welterweight division. Bobby Seronio III and Calob Ramirez in the bantamweight division. Calob Ramirez, it's a setup fight. I'm going to be honest with you. It is a setup fight. He is 10 years older, pretty much exactly. Maybe a few days off, a few weeks off. That's pretty much it. But it's literally a decade older than Bobby Seronio III. And he lost in his last fight by submission. He got a decision win, but he lost a lot by submission. Bobby Seronio III is a much better wrestler, much better grappler. His striking is very legit as well, but I think if he's going to win here, it's going to be to go out there, put on the pressure on the feet with the striking on Calob Ramirez, take him down, and just absolutely destroy him on the ground. I'm going to go Bobby Seronio III by submission. Let's go rear naked choke in the first or second rounds. Kyle Crutchmer and Michael Lombardo at welterweight. Kyle Crutchmer is a very solid fighter. 8 wins and 1 loss. 28 years old. Almost 29 years old. They're both kind of in that prime stage of their MMA careers. Kyle Crutchmer is a little bit younger. And he's a little bit smaller in terms of height and in terms of reach as well. So that does give an advantage to Michael Lombardo in terms of the striking there. He could go out there and just, lose the height, use the reach, and outstrike Kyle Crutchmer for 3 rounds. He could. If he can defend the takedowns, he definitely can. But Kyle Crutchmer, the man's wrestling is super, super legit. I mean, he's only lost to Cameron Lashinov right there. He beat Lev Kelly, Oliver Enkop, and then so many other guys inside of Bellator and XFN right there. So either it's going to be Michael Lombardo outstriking for a decision or Kyle Crutchmer out wrestling for a decision. At this point in time, I'm going to lean towards Kyle Crutchmer going out there and out wrestling for a decision. Gaston Bolanos and Daniel Carey in the featherweight division. A rematch here at the featherweight in Bellator. 29 years old and 32 years old. Gaston Bolanos, the much, much better striker, getting knockout wins over Nathan Stolen in the first round, Isidro Gutierrez in the second round, Malcolm Hill with leg kicks in the first round, Rick Gutierrez with a spinning back fist in the first round, and then a TKO win in the first round as well. A few Muay Thai fights in between there and kind of before that as well, but he does have the loss to Daniel Carey. It was a guillotine choke submission loss to Daniel Carey. I know he's probably worked on the submission game, the wrestling, and the jiu-jitsu in the last year and a half that he's been off of MMA and since the last fight with Daniel Carey. Daniel Carey, he's a decent striker. He did go out there and showed some pretty good striking in a few of his fights, but against Gaston Bolanos, he has nothing for the striking against Gaston Bolanos. He got knocked out by Aaron Pico in the second round. He got knocked out by Gazi Rabadano in the first round. His chin is not really looking too good recently. I think Gaston Bolanos is going to go out there and absolutely destroy Daniel Carey in the striking. Knockout for Gaston Bolanos in the first or second rounds. Dovletdzhan, Yagshimuradov, and Rafael Carvalho at middleweight. A short notice fight. Originally, we had Dovletdzhan versus Tony Johnson. I was pretty confident on going Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov to win that one. Now he's going to fight Rafael Carvalho. This is such a close fight, in my opinion, because Rafael Carvalho and Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov, this is going to be a striking fight, in my opinion. And if it is a striking fight, I'm gonna be honest with you. Rafael Carvalho is a live dog, as he is going to be 4 inches taller than Dovletdzhan, and he's going to be 6 inches longer than Dovletdzhan. We've seen some other guys like Carl Brexton and Corey Anderson have that height and reach advantage, outstrike him a little bit and take him down, use the wrestling to win the fight. Rafael Carvalho is not that guy. He's not going to be one of them to keep the fight at range and then get the takedowns to beat him there. That's what Corey Anderson and Carl Brexton did, and that's kind of the game plan you have to go with fighting a guy like Dovletdzhan. But I don't think Rafael Carvalho is going to be able to go out there and wrestle Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov. I expect the fight to be a striking fight for 3 straight rounds. And Dovletdzhan, with the power advantage, he's going to be landing the more impactful shots here. The judges are going to see him landing the huge overhand rights, left hooks, right hooks, and things of that nature. Rafael will land a little bit more volume, but Dovletdzhan will land the more impactful shots. Dovletdzhan by a unanimous decision. Tyrell Fortune and Rakim Cleveland in the heavyweight division. Tyrell Fortune is a wrestler. Rakim Cleveland, he's an okay wrestler, but he's mainly going out there trying to knock you out on the feet. He does have a very powerful head kick, as we saw in the B2 Fighting Series main event, getting that first round knockout win. But again, I mean, 15-9-2, 7-11, 9-7 right there. Rashid Yusupov, that's a solid win, but it was due to a doctor stoppage right there. He lost to a lot of legit guys. Maxime Grisham was in the UFC, Tanner Bozer, who is inside the UFC, Vinny Magahales, Victor Nemkov, another solid guy right there. I mean, he's fighting some decent guys on the regional scene and things like that. He even fought Derek Lewis back in 2011, which is absolutely insane. He fought Derek Lewis. That's just absolutely insane. But now he's fighting one of the best wrestlers in the Bellator heavyweight division. He's in the prime of his career, pretty similar height, pretty similar reach. It should be a domination. Tyrell Fortune, I'm gonna go TKO or submission in the first or second rounds. Tim Johnson and Linton Vassell in the heavyweight division. Tim Johnson with a pretty solid resume. I mean, he's fought the who's who of the Bellator heavyweight division, fighting Fedor Emelianenko in his last fight, Valentin Madovsky. Before that, Vitaly Minakov, Junior Albini, Alexander Volkov, I had a little burp stuck right there, Jet Congo, and then who's another pretty well-known guy, Marcin Tybura. front. He actually beat him by a decision, beat Tyrell Fortune, which is a solid win, Matt Mitrione, and then Czech Congo. So he's beaten some pretty solid guys, but for this fight with Linton Vassell, I don't think it's going to be a wrestling, grappling type of fight. I don't think Linton Vassell is going to go out there and try to take down Tim Johnson. I don't think Tim Johnson is going to go out there trying to take down Linton Vassell. This should be just 3 rounds of striking. Tim Johnson is live. He can definitely go out there and knock out Linton Vassell. It's very, very possible that does happen. But I'm going to lean slightly towards Linton Vassell. His power is definitely there. He did knock out Sergey Karatanov. He knocked out Ronnie Marks as well. And then he beat Tyrell Fortune by a split decision as well. So I think this is going to be 3 rounds of striking, and the taller, lengthier Linton Vassell is going to land more volume and slightly edge it out like he did last time with Tyrell Fortune. Just slightly edging out a very close 29-28 decision right there. Aaron Pico and Adley Edwards in the featherweight division. We're going to redo that one more time. Aaron Pico and Adley Edwards in the featherweight division. Adley Edwards with 9 wins and 1 loss, a 500 underdog against Aaron Pico. Now, should he be that big of an underdog? I can't really say too much at this point, but Adley Edwards has not fought near the competition of Aaron Pico. Yeah, Josh Harvey and then Lance Lawrence, they were decent wins, but before that, I mean, 2-2, 2-3 after that loss, 1-6, 1-2, 3-3, 3-2. These are decent wins there. I mean, he's getting a lot of finishes, a lot of TKOs, a lot of submissions and things like that, but Aaron Pico, man, this is such a humongous step up in competition for Adley Edwards. I mean, we just saw Aaron Pico go out there, beat Justin Gonzalez by unanimous decision, Aiden Lee by submission, John DeJesus by knockout, Sola Hatley Jr. by submission, Daniel Carey by knockout, only losing to some legit guys like Henry Corrales and then Adam Boric. So for this fight here, I think Adley Edwards is going to try to go out there and just look for a finish. I mean, he doesn't really have an advantage anywhere the fight goes. Wrestling goes Aaron Pico, striking goes Aaron Pico, jiu-jitsu goes Aaron Pico. Only way he's going to win is going to be that one big punch. He just needs to start throwing and hopefully land on Aaron Pico. That's how Adley Edwards is going to win the fight. But Aaron's more technical. He's got the better striking. He's got the better wrestling. He should win anywhere. Either a ground and pound TKO or a TKO on the feet. Aaron Pico by finish in the first or second rounds. Vadim Nemkov and Corey Anderson in the light heavyweight division. Now, you might originally look at this fight and see Vadim Nemkov, the guy that they're comparing and saying that he could beat some of the UFC champions, Glover Teixeira, Jan Blachowicz, even Yuri Prochazka, John Jones, all of those guys. So many people are saying that Vadim Nemkov would be able to beat a lot of those guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to go Vadim Nemkov. Originally, when I first saw the fight, I was going Vadim Nemkov 48-47 decision. I thought he can go out there and outstrike Corey Anderson on the feet, just out-volume him, land the leg kicks, the body kicks, just out-volume for a decision win. That still is very likely to happen. But I think Corey Anderson knows that that's what Vadim Nemkov is gonna be doing for this fight. And with Corey Anderson having the height and reach advantage, I believe he's gonna play it pretty patient on the feet, have Vadim Nemkov come to him, and he's just gonna look to land very powerful shots. He has the power advantage. He knocked out Ryan Bader in his last fight. He TKO'd Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov. He TKO'd Melvin Manhoef. He TKO'd Johnny Walker. He's got the power to knock out so many guys in this heavyweight division. But for this fight with Vadim Nemkov, I don't see a knockout. I definitely am not going to go out there and say that Corey Anderson is going to knock out Vadim Nemkov, but I think he can out-wrestle Vadim Nemkov very, very slightly. My dog just shook her chain, but I think he can out-wrestle Vadim Nemkov very, very slightly, mix in a few takedowns every now and then here. Not going to be a domination, but I can see him landing a few takedowns, controlling the fight on the ground a little bit, just to kind of help with the judges' scorecards, and on the feet, keep it very, very even in terms of volume, but land the more powerful shots. So again, originally I was going Vadim Nemkov to keep the fight on the feet for 5 rounds and just out-volume Corey Anderson, but the fact that Corey Anderson is going to have the more powerful punches, he's going to have the better wrestling, he's going to have all of those things going for him, I'm going to go Corey Anderson a 48-47 7 decision. And I'm not going to be super confident here because Vadim Nemkov has been 5 rounds. Corey Anderson has not. But I do think Vadim Nemkov is going to win sort of those later rounds, like the 4th, 5th round. But those early rounds, the 1st, 2nd round, maybe one of the 3rd and 4th rounds, will go to Corey Anderson. I think he's the more powerful guy, the better wrestler, and will win at least 3 rounds. 48-47, super slightly leading Corey Anderson by a decision. AJ McKee Jr. and Patricio Pitbull 2 in the featherweight division. I had AJ McKee Jr. winning the first encounter that they did have back in 2021 in July. I did have Patricio Pitbull losing that fight. It was -110, -110. I did have McKee Jr. by a decision there. I was very shocked that he submitted him as fast as he did. I mean, it was absolutely insane. But yeah, we have probably the up-and-coming prospect, the biggest prospect in Bellator's history, in my opinion, and the greatest Bellator fighter of all time in Patricio Pitbull. AJ McKee Jr. is the better striker, in my opinion, aside from maybe the power. Yes, Patricio could go out there, land that big shot down the middle, overhand right, uppercut, and knock out AJ McKee Jr. Very likely. Could latch onto a guillotine and submit AJ McKee Jr. Very likely. But AJ is just the better striker. He's the better jiu-jitsu guy. I don't think Patricio is going to be taking down AJ McKee Jr. So I expect this one to be mainly striking. Usually, when we see a finish in one of these title fights like this, the second fight seems to be a little bit more calculated. They're both, Patricio Pitbull is not trying to get finished the second time, because that's what that's going to do to his legacy. So he's going to go out there, play it a little bit more patient, every now and then explode on some really big shots and things like that. But AJ's going to use that height advantage, that reach advantage, 4 inches in height, and then about 8 inches in reach. He's going to keep the fight at range, jab and 1-2, and mixing in some grappling every now and then, mixing in the clinch, some submission attempts. I don't think we see a finish this time around. I'm going to go AJ McKee Jr. 49-46, unanimous decision. Really good fight in the featherweight division. That is my Bellator 277, McKee versus Pitbull 2. Full card prediction. I got AJ McKee Jr. decision, Corey Anderson decision, Aaron Pico by finish, Linton Vassell by a decision, Tyrell Fortune by a finish, Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov by a decision, Gaston Bolanos by a knockout, Kyle Crutchmer decision, Bobby Seronio submission, Tyson Miller by a knockout, Edwin de los Santos by knockout, Rogelio Luna by a decision, Laird Anderson by finish, and Theo Haig by finish. Those are the full card predictions. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe. Put your predictions down below. Put your best bets down below, because we will be making some best bets for Bellator 277. If you want to see those ones, go check the pinned comment down in the video. It will be there after this video is posted. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go.